channel and this video. I'm Joey and I will be your host today. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding. I will be your host today for this video. But I am back with a new Dutch themed video. And sorry, there's a lot of stuff lying around here that I am gonna use later, but I have to be careful not to like knock it off the table. This video is mostly going to be a lot of whispering, by the way, so if you are not interested in hearing me ramble and whisper, then maybe this video isn't for you, but it's also going to be a little informative, so if you do want to stick around for that, definitely don't hesitate to keep watching. I'm back with another Dutch themed video, and today I'm going to be doing the different dialects and like accents in the Netherlands, because when I made my first teaching you Dutch video about a week ago now, I got a lot of requests for a video like this, so I'm going to be talking to you guys about the different dialects and accents that occur within the Dutch language. And fun fact, Dutch is not exclusive to the Netherlands. They also speak it in a couple different other countries. I don't know how like far I'll be getting into that today. And also I should probably do a disclaimer. I am not a language expert. I'm not a linguist or anything of that sort. I didn't study it at all, but I am a Dutch native. So I was born and raised in the Netherlands, where we speak Dutch. And I just know a lot about my country, and I like talking about the Dutch language. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. So again, I'm not a linguist or a language expert, so if I leave anything out by accident or I maybe give some accidental misinformation, I'm sorry, but I did my best to like research some stuff, and like I'm going to be mostly talking from like my own subjective experience with these things. But I thought it would be fun, and like a lot of people requested it, so let's just get into the video today. I moved a little bit further away from the microphone, not because I don't love you guys and I don't want to be close to the camera, but I'm looking at my laptop simultaneously because I made a list of the different accents and dialects, and I don't want to forget anything, so I'm looking at my laptop at the same time. And also, I brought this thing back. This little writing board. Maybe a lot of you recognize it from my last Dutch video with this cute little pen. Wait. It makes really nice sounds. Anyway, I might do some like writing on here just so you guys have like a visualization of the words that I'm going to use in this video. So like I said, in my last video, I told you guys that I have a pretty like general Dutch accent. I don't really know any dialects, even though I did grow up in an environment where a dialect is a thing. But for the dialects to make sense, I'm gonna have to do some background info on the different provinces. Try saying that 20 times in a row. On the different provinces in the Netherlands, because then the rest will make more sense. So, we have 12 different provinces in the Netherlands. And basically, you can kind of like look at them as little states. Like, you know how the US has like 52, I don't know, sorry, really bad, I know. But the US US has like all these different states, I guess you can kind of look at them the same way. Sorry, I had to cut the video for a little bit because I'm baking a cake and the timer for the oven went off, so I had to look at the cake. But like I was saying, I guess you can see them as states because we all have our own, like in each individual state or province, we have our own, like, you know, different traditions and everything. So I guess it's easier to compare it to that. So we have 12 provinces. 12 different provinces. And this is such a neat little gadget. Anyway, I think I'm gonna write them all down for you just so you kind of like know what they are. These are the first two that I want to discuss. We have Noord-Holland. Noord-Holland. Maybe I can show you a bit more up close. I don't know how well this is in the frame right now, but like Noord-Holland and Zuid-Holland. Zuid-Holland. This is a Z. So translated to English, this would be Northern Holland and Southern Holland. And the capital, because also all of our provinces have capital cities, and the capital of Northern Holland is Haarlem, which is a pretty big city, which is right next to Amsterdam, or like a little bit above Amsterdam actually. So while Amsterdam is in the province of North Holland, and Amsterdam is the capital of the Netherlands, it's not the capital of the province, so that's a different city. And the capital of Southern Holland, which is like the area very close to the ocean, so you have cities there like Rotterdam, I'm forgetting cities, but like The Hague, you know, all of those like close to the ocean basically. The capital of Southern Holland is The Hague, obviously. Den Haag. You know, The Hague is Den Haag, or Schravenhagen in Dutch. So those are the first two provinces. We're gonna go through the rest of them a bit quicker, but I just wanted to give you these as an example. And then we have these two provinces. This one is called Utrecht. And it's actually the province that I lived in for about 3 years. When I was off to uni, I lived in Utrecht, the province of Utrecht. And then we have another province, which is like below Utrecht, which is kind of like in the middle of the country, in the middle of the Netherlands, which is called Gelderland. Or Gelderland, which is not a translation, it's just like phonetically how you'd say it. Gelderland. But then we have two more provinces, and the first one is called Zeeland. Zeeland is how you would pronounce it in Dutch. And the bottom one, like I said, you can't really see it that well, but it is called Noord-Brabant. Or the translation of that would be Northern Brabant. I don't know. And it's funny because it's not funny, but this is the province that I am currently living in, and Zeeland. The actual translation of that would be Zeeland. So I'm guessing you can kind of see where I'm going with this. This one is really close to the ocean. Like, it's like, also it has like a group of like really cute, tiny, like, they're not islands, but like they're completely, like they're bodies of land, completely almost surrounded by water, connecting to the mainland. I used to go on holiday there when I was a kid. So, then two more provinces. This first one is called Limburg. And it's this very most southern part of the Netherlands. So Limburg borders Germany and Belgium. this one is called Overijssel. 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 Which is more like to the side of the Netherlands, which borders Germany, if I'm correct. And then we have two more. We're almost at the last ones. Two more. The first one is called Drenthe. 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 Which is like a little bit more north, I guess. And then you have Friesland. 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 Which is also more northern, like more up there. Okay, and then we have the two last ones. This is Flevoland. 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 And this one's called, I know a lot of English speakers have trouble pronouncing this one because it has so many weird sounds in the name. But it's called Groningen. Groningen. So this part's pronounced Ning, because the N and the G sound, they make like an sound, like singing. So Groningen. Groningen. And Groningen is the most northern part of the Netherlands, and it borders Germany as well, as do a lot of, like almost all of the provinces that are like on this side of the country. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So those were our last two provinces, and now we get into the dialects. I think to start with, the most obvious difference in accent there is, and I'm not talking about dialect even, but just like accent-wise in the Netherlands, the most obvious example is the G sound, because like we call this below the rivers, at least I know I do, and like a lot of my friends and people in the Netherlands do, but I've heard other things. But basically there are like a couple rivers that kind of like go through all of the provinces, and there's one, I don't know what it's called, I don't know which one exactly it is, but there's a river that like kind of almost divides like half of the country like in two. So like if I were to draw it, which this is not an accurate representation of it obviously, but like if you have like the Netherlands, this is really bad. But like if you have the Netherlands, like there's probably a river that goes like this, and then this is where the accent thing comes in. So we would call this above the river, and this one below the river. And like I said, there are like different provinces like all throughout here, and above the rivers people talk with a hard G sound. So for example, if I were to say the province of Groningen in Dutch, it obviously has a pretty harsh G sound. Groningen, 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 which is how I talk. And this is above the river, like people above the rivers talk with a hardened G sound most of the time. So it's if I were to say in Dutch like how are you, I would say hoe gaat het, hoe gaat het, with a very throaty G sound. And below the rivers, people would speak of like a soft G sound, because if I were to say how are you below the river, and if you were born and raised there, you would probably talk with a soft G. So you'd say hoe gaat het, hoe gaat het, hoe gaat het. It sounds more like a breath or like a hiss, like hoe gaat het. And if I were to say the same province of Groningen with a soft G sound, I would say Groningen, Groningen. I can't really do it. Groningen, Groningen, Groningen. Hoe gaat het? Groningen, hoe gaat het? You can hear the difference. Fun fact, I was born below the rivers, so I don't really know how I got the sound. Probably because of my mom, because she wasn't born below the river. So that's, I think, the most notable accent thingy in the accents and everything. Let's just start off easy because, as you guys probably know, Amsterdam is the capital of the Netherlands, and there is very much a dialect that goes along with Amsterdam, which is called Amsterdams, or Amsterdamish. And honestly, I'm not gonna try and imitate like any of the dialects and accents in this video because I literally can't. But Amsterdams is very like laid back, and actually a lot of old people in Amsterdam still like speak it frequently. And I know that with the rise of like expats and international students in Amsterdam, and also a lot of like younger people that have moved to Amsterdam recently, like in the past 20 years, the dialect has kind of like died off, which is really sad to see, honestly. But you know, there are still a lot of older people that can, you know, pass it on to the younger generations, so I hope that's what happens. Then we have Rotterdam, which is in the province of Southern Holland, and Rotterdam is like, they have a very wet T sound, which sounds weird, I know, but like in normal Dutch, I would probably say something like, "Hey schat, hoe gaat het?" which is a very like normal way of speaking in that sense. And if you're like a true Rotterdam person, you would say something like, "Hey schat, hoe gaat het?" And I don't have that, so that's kind of the difference, which is really funny. And obviously this is like a little bit of a generalization because not every person from Rotterdam has this, but if you were to ask an actor to do a Rotterdam accent, I think they would be like, "Hey schat, hoe gaat het met jou? Ja, lekker toch? Ja, you know." So yeah. Then we have The Hague, which they also have a different accent, even though it's not far from Rotterdam. I think it's about like an hour, half an hour, I don't know. It's like pretty close to each other. But they have a different accent there as well. And it's really like, I can't even like describe it, but they have different accents there as well. But okay. And like obviously like all of the cities kind of have their own like inflection in sentences and words, but I'm gonna try and not like drag this out too much for you guys, so we're just gonna go to the very more like obvious and like interesting regions. So we have a province that I already showed you earlier in the video called Friesland. And in Friesland, they actually have their own language. I know, pretty crazy, right? They have a language called Fries. I'm gonna write it down for you. They speak a language, I mean, aside from Dutch, which they obviously also speak, but they speak a language called Fries, and that equals to the translation of Frisian, the Frisian language. So they speak Fries in Friesland, and in Friesland, the province, they are also teaching Fries. Not in all schools, I think, but in a couple of schools, they are also still teaching Fries as an actual language, which obviously it is, but it's kind of like a, I don't want to say dying language because I know that will piss the Frisian people off. I know. Frisian people are very proud of their heritage, which I get, obviously. Yeah, I don't want to say it's like a dying language, but I personally don't know any Frisian. I don't think anyone, I mean, again, that's kind of like a generalization, right? But I don't think a lot of people outside of Friesland know Frisian. passed on, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so we have a province that has their own language, which is pretty cool. I think I would like to learn it someday, but it's really hard. I can understand some words because they're like, obviously it's a language that stems from the Germanic language, where Dutch also stems from, so I can understand like sentence structures and stuff and grammar, but I don't think that I can understand the vocabulary. So yeah, that's Friesland with their Frisian. Oh, and also it count. If you guys are wondering how it sounds, it's kind of like, I'm gonna do a very generalized accent, so don't get mad at me if you're Dutch. But it kind of sounds like this. Het klinkt eigenlijk een beetje zo, of misschien doe ik nu gewoon echt heel raars. They have kind of like a rolling R, like a r. It kind of sounds like a Nordic language, I guess. It's kind of like singy. Then we have the province of Brabant, North Brabant, where I was born and raised. Yeah, I was born there and raised there for most of my life. The province of North Brabant, North Brabant, also has a lot of dialects, because there are obviously a lot of cities also within North Brabant. I know the city that I grew up in, which is Eindhoven. It has its own dialect and words, like different vocabulary and stuff from regular Dutch. Although I don't speak any dialect, like I know that the smaller villages as well, like it happens a lot that like small villages in the Netherlands have their own like vocabulary and words for things. And I know that Eindhoven and like the region of Eindhoven and like small villages in the neighborhood of Eindhoven also have their own like little vocabulary things and like little words that they use for certain stuff, but I don't know any of them. So, but it's just really interesting to think that, you know, we are a very small country compared to other countries in the world, and we have so many different things, like so many different traditions, different languages within the same country that are also recognized as like languages, and it's pretty cool. So then, that being said, Northern Brabant has a lot of different dialects and different accents, mostly, but we all speak with the soft here. Hoe gaat het? Ik hou gewoon heel erg van het opnemen van video's. Gaaf toch? I'm not the best at it because I don't speak like that. Yeah. But we then move on to the most southern part of the Netherlands, which is Limburg. Limburg. And in Limburg, they have so many different accents and dialects. It's literally insane. I studied there for a year, and I could barely understand what the fuck people were saying. This is no hate to Limburg, by the way. I love that province. I've lived there for a year, and I look back on it with very fond memories, but Limburg just has so many different cities. It's a pretty huge province, if you ask me. It's like, it takes up almost the entire southern part of the Netherlands, which is like the bottom part of the country. And they just have so many different accents. Like, you have cities like Maastricht, which is, I think, the capital of Limburg, of the province. I'm not certain. But Maastricht is a really big city. I studied there for a year. I lived there for a year. And the dialect is like really difficult. Completely different vocabulary. The accent is insanely hard. I could not do it for the life of me. But then when you move on to other cities in the same province, Limburg, you have cities like Venlo, another dialect, another set of vocabulary, like it's weird. And then you go to Heerlen or Sittard, which are all cities that are also in pretty close proximity to each other, but they all have different accents and dialects. And that's just really insane to me. Then we also have, because I forgot a dialect, Zeeuws. Zeeuws. I'm gonna write it for you. These letters, you pronounce this like Zeeuws, and these letters go like ew, ew, Zeeuws, Zeeuws. In Zeeland or Zeeland, remember the province that's really close to the ocean, they speak a dialect called Zeeuws. And again, I could not for the life of me explain anything about it, but I just know that they also have like a dialect because Zeeland, the province borders Belgium, so I know that they also have a dialect where like Flemish Dutch and Zeeuws kind of like blend. They kind of like mesh together, and that's especially confusing to me. Don't ask me to understand it. I will not be able to understand it. So that's pretty insane. So yeah, we also have Zeeuws, and then I want to move on because I already mentioned it briefly just now. I want to go to Belgium, because remember at the beginning of this video I said that Dutch is not only spoken in the Netherlands, it is spoken in a whole array of countries around the world, and Belgium is one of them. Yeah, Belgium. So I got a comment from a user. I'm gonna look her up really quickly. I got a comment from Liv Marada, user Liv Marada, that said, I noticed that another popular ASMR artist, Nanu ASMR, is Flemish, and I noticed that her accent sounds different than yours. Maybe in another video you can show us the difference between Belgian Dutch and Flemish Dutch from the Netherlands. I'm not sure if there's a huge difference, but I'm curious. Thank you, Liv Marada, or Liv, for that comment, because while there is a difference, which is mostly in the accent and the vocabulary, there's not much difference. Flemish Dutch is still Dutch. It's not a separate language. It is actually just another like dialect of Dutch, but it's not its own language, to answer your question. So I think the biggest difference between Flemish Dutch and regular Dutch would just be the accent. Obviously I can't really speak on it a huge deal because I did not grow up in Belgium and I don't really know much about their government, but I do know that like half of the Belgian government, because they don't have like one government, I think they have two separate governments within one country, and like one government speaks Dutch Flemish or Flemish Dutch, and the other government speaks French. What I'm thinking is that like in a lot of places like closer to the Dutch border, like Antwerp, maybe even Brussels, Ghent, Leuven, I think that's about all of them. In a lot of like Belgian cities like that, the ones I just mentioned, they speak Dutch Flemish or Flemish Dutch, but even then they have different like accents and dialects, because I just looked it up, and I also remember these. I think Nanu ASMR, I think she speaks West-Vlaams, because Flemish in Dutch is called Vlaams, so the translation of Flemish would be Vlaams. And I think Nanu speaks West-Vlaams or West Flemish, which is a little bit closer to the Dutch border, I think. But then you also have things like I said, Zeeuws Vlaams, so like the province in the Netherlands that I just talked about, combined with Flemish Dutch. Yeah, and then we have Brussels Franglais Dutch, which is a mix of Brussels French and Dutch, because in Brussels, I go there quite often actually, like half of Brussels speaks French and the other half speaks Dutch. It's really odd. So whenever I walk into a store in Brussels, I'm always like, am I gonna have to speak French or am I gonna have to speak Dutch? I don't know. Yeah, this was a pretty like chaotic video, but I hope this kind of cleared up some things about Dutch accents and regions in the Netherlands and different dialects. But I'm going to end this video here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for your support. I enjoy